Hello and welcome to Act the Giddy Goat. This is our vlog. Today we have 4 Giddy Goats with us, myself, Tara, Gypsy, and Emador, and we're just going to talk a little bit about D&D and why we love it and how we got into it and who our favorite character is. So I'm going to start with how I got into D&D. Specifically, Pathfinder is what I play, although I have tried D&D 5th edition once. So I've always been a tabletop gamer since I was a child. It was a thing that my family always did together. And D&D was just one of those things that I grew up always wanting to try, but struggled to find a group to play it with because it's really hard to do. And as a shy person, it's even harder to go out in person and find a group. So when I moved out of the house and across the country, that's where I met one of my coworkers and her then boyfriend, who offered to show me and my boyfriend the ropes. And since they lived in the same apartment building, it worked out really great. And so that's how I got to play my first D&D game. And after that, I was just hooked. And I really wanted to find a group that would be steady and play a game, a whole campaign, not just like a one-shot type of game. So it wasn't until I reached my second master's degree where I found a cluster of nerds, because it's a library science degree and everybody plays board games. And so there I was able to find someone who was willing to be a DM, and we got a group of people together, and we've had that steady group now ever since. It's been a year or so that we play every week on Thursday. It's great. We get pizza. We've played several different campaigns now, and I absolutely love it. And so that's how I got into D&D. And so Tara's going to tell us about how she got into it.
Yeah, so I somehow managed to make it through most of my life without knowing what D&D even was. I think I'd heard of it, but didn't really know what it was. So it wasn't until adulthood that I actually played a D&D game. It was 3rd edition with my uncle as the DM and his wife, and then my brother played as well. And I think my uncle and I were the only ones that were actually into it, and then he got really busy, and so we had to cut that short. And that's when I found Critical Role, the Geek and Sundry show that is on Twitch, and then they upload to YouTube as well. And I think it came out or started around the same time as when I stopped that D&D game. So I, sailed along comfortably just watching D&D be awesome for a while. But then I got really sort of antsy about wanting to play again myself. And so I went to roll20.com, which is a place where you can find other players or DMs or just groups that already exist who are looking for players, and join a game that everyone kind of decides to play together online with strangers sometimes, most of the time. And I joined that game, and it was really awesome. We play a 5th edition campaign. I started that over 2 years ago. We're still going, so that's really fun. And then I've joined a couple of games since then with my family and friends and stuff. So yeah, I'm fully in it now, so that's how I got my start. Gypsy, how did you get going?
I kind of attribute my initial start to a few years ago at camp. A friend of mine, he was really into it, and so I kind of have some fond memories of working with him throughout the week. And any question I had about Dungeons and Dragons, he was very well knowledged in it, and he'd been playing for a long time. So I had a lot of fun talking to him about it. It was just kind of all kind of a matter of breaking out of my shell to find a group, because I didn't want to just go walk into a room and sit down with a bunch of people I didn't know. So it wasn't until actually last year that Air had started a group online, and so I got to know some, you guys playing that way, and I got to play. So it wasn't until last year that I actually officially started. So how about you, Emador?
Well, my story is similar to Gypsy's in that I did not get started playing D&D, Pathfinder, until last year when Erin put together a group and she said, "You're going to play with us." And I said, "Okay, what am I going to do?" And so it's been a lot of, "Erin, what do I do here? Erin, what do I do?" So that's how I got started playing.
All right, so the next thing that we're kind of going to delve into is why we love D&D. So you're going to probably hear a lot of similar answers throughout the group because we all are writers and storytellers, and I think that's one of the biggest driving force at least for me, the reason I love D&D is that collaborative storytelling aspect behind it. So I actually have a blog post up on the Giddy Go website that talks about collaboration and storytelling. I've always been an avid role player, usually text-based, writing on forums, and it's always been a chance to interact with people and tell a story together. So I've always loved that part of role playing, and being able to do it with D&D, you can try different characters and different things, but you're also playing the game at the same time. So now you're not just telling a story, you're often trying to survive or think of different ways to get out of a dungeon. And so it added this whole other element to it that I really enjoyed. And so that's probably the big driving force behind my love for D&D. What about you, Tara?
Yeah, for sure. Collaborative storytelling is one of the big reasons why I love D&D or just RPGs in general. It's just so fun to tell a story with other people so that you're not solely responsible for everything that happens, and you still get the sort of surprises and twists and turns of other players making their characters do something, or the DM doing something unexpected, and that's really fun to not have that all in your brain already known to you. So that's really cool. But in addition to that, probably it might be my favorite thing about D&D. I say D&D, I mean it all, but D&D is the one I'm most familiar with, so I'm just going to call it D&D. The biggest reason why I love playing D&D might be that I love the kind of friendships and relationships that you form with the fellow people you're playing with while you're playing the game, because you get to tell this story together, and it can be kind of just like silly and goofy and fun, which is really great. But it can also sometimes be very sort of emotionally fraught and hard and sad and weird, and you have to kind of work together and get to know how you work together as people in addition to how you work together as players, and you kind of have to form those relationships in the game and outside of the game, and it makes for a really interesting dynamic. And usually a group that has to go through these things together gets closer, and I think that's really awesome. And I've found that in every game that I've played, that I become better friends with my family or my friends that I play with, and I really love that, because you experience these things, these emotions, that you don't necessarily have to go on the quests in real life to kill goblins or whatever. But you still experience that emotion of saving your friend, right? That emotion is an actual thing that you feel, even if the scenario itself isn't real. And so you kind of form those ties with the people that you're playing with, which maybe sounds over dramatic or overstated, but to me it really isn't. It's so great, and I love it so much, and it's definitely one of my favorite reasons why I play. So yeah, Gypsy, what about you?
Like they were saying, the collaborative aspect, I really like role playing and the interactive storytelling. Something I really like too is just like the world that it takes place in. So kind of the fantasy aspect of like elves and dwarves and all of that. So those are some of my favorite aspects of it. How about you, Emador?
Well, like the others, it's the collaborative storytelling, but also I like the idea that it's like reading a book or reading a story, but you have a say in it. It's like the old choose your own adventure novels. You're reading it and you're experiencing it, but you get to choose and you get to change things. And even if you were to play the same thing over again, it's gonna be different. And so I just like it's more immersing yourself in the story.
So our last topic about D&D is our favorite character. So my favorite character is actually not one I'm currently playing, although I absolutely adore the person that I am playing. So my favorite character is Kallista, and I have a picture of her here. So this is Kallista. She's a tiefling sorcerer from an earlier game that I played, and I'll link the artist who drew this in the description box below. But they drew an amazing version of my tiefling, and this is her raven Ezra. So she was an absolute delight to play, depending on who you asked. I absolutely loved her personality, but she's constantly trying to do the right thing, although her idea of right is maybe a little off from societal norms. So like she thought it would be a great idea to offer the bartender the return of the bartender's father encased in glass. She didn't encase him in glass. They found him encased in glass, and he had actually gone evil, and the bartender had a horrible relationship with her father. But, after someone's died, maybe it'd be nice to get to respect them again. So apparently it wasn't the best idea. The bartender was not overly amused. So they had this glass statue human that they needed to do something with. And so Kallista thought then it would be a great idea to use the statue to advertise her companion's soup stall. He said no, but she thought it would still be the best thing to do. So she went a little ways down the road, set up the statue with a nice sign to attract customers, and he was less than impressed. She meant really well, though, in everything that she did, and she was just a lot of fun because everything that she did was often the wrong thing. Currently, I'm playing somebody named Pip, short for Philip. He is a gangly, dorkly human rogue. He started out at 16. He just turned 19. He found himself running away from home and is now king of the country. So he's been quite the character to get to know. I absolutely love playing him, and he's definitely grown on me, although he continues to always get eaten, and he's still trying to prove his worth, but he's trying really hard. So between the two of them, I definitely love them both. What about you, Tara?
All right, my dogs are barking, so hopefully that's not too distracting. My favorite character is Tyrk, and this is her. I had this commissioned by Amelia Galloway, who's on Instagram. I don't know if you guys can read this, but that's what it is. Hopefully that's the right way around. Galloame. She's a halfling monk, and she's super feisty and loves everyone, like kind of to a fault. She's way too trusting, but like just really digs into the good in people, and she just believes everyone is good and that they can all be better people than they think they can, and she really pulls out, we have kind of this sort of, I don't know how to say it, but like all of the characters in our group are kind of just like, man, life is rough. I have this really grim backstory. I have, there's not much hope left in the world. And she's just like, but guys, there's so much great stuff. Look at these flowers. Or, she's not that naive, but she sees a lot of the good stuff instead of the bad stuff and brings that out of the people around her. And I just love playing her. She's what I would want to be. All of the good qualities times 100. So I just love her. She's not the only character I play, but she's for sure my favorite. So yeah, I just love her. So yeah, Gypsy, what's yours?
I have two. So here's Dungeons and Dragons with some friends and family for hours. Like we just sat and played for hours. So I really enjoyed the character that I played that night. His name is Thohorn, and he's a paladin who has an oath of vengeance, trying to track down this bad guy who killed off his family like years and years ago. So he was kind of an interesting character to play. I had a lot of fun with that, but I really like the character that I'm currently playing. His name's Grem, and he's a dwarf who is trying to prove himself to his like older brothers back home. So he's kind of polite and is kind of trying to just make his way in the world, trying to kind of leave his mark and go on his own adventures. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun playing as Grem. How about you, Emador?
Well, since I only started playing last year, I've only played 2 characters, and just like when you're first starting writing, you put a lot of yourself into your characters because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just writing, so I'm going to pretend this is me. And so I think that's what ended up happening a lot with my first 2 characters, because I don't know what's going on, so my characters clearly don't know what's going on. But my favorite one is the first one, and I have a little drawing of him. Don't be jealous of my artist skills. But his name is Paz. He's a halfling, and that was his Badger Blue because he was a druid. Gosh, I hope he was a druid. It was only like 2 months ago. I don't remember. So he had a little animal companion. But yeah, he's just a little halfling who didn't really know what was going on, and it's kind of would start talking without knowing where his sentence was going, because I didn't know what was going on in D&D, so I would just start talking. So yeah, that's my character.
All right, so that kind of wraps up our little conversation about D&D, and that wraps up our vlog. I will post in the description below the link to any of our D&D blog posts, as along with the link to the person who drew Kallista, and I can post the link to the Instagram for Tara's character. So yeah, like us on social media, follow our YouTube channel, definitely check out our blog. That's where we're probably most active because we're very bad at getting together for vlogs. But yeah, check us out, and we hope you have a good day. See ya!
Bye!